Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to number 28. Today it's going to be a tall, thin one, and we're going to do a tall, thin vase or pot for it to go in, like that. You can put a little rim on if you want to. And then this one is almost like a pile of little shapes like this, and they build up around the outside. So do some large ones and do some small ones, and work on the drawing all over rather than doing all the ones at the bottom and then all the ones at the top, and you'll find that you'll get layers happening, which is really useful, and some weird sort of shapes. They don't all have to be sort of uniform. Some of them form almost squares on this cactus. I'm just going to put one in there, I think. So just build up a little pile of shapes like that. And this one tends to be a sort of silvery grey bluey colour. So again, if you don't want to see your lines, take your putty rubber. Mine's getting a bit dirty. Look at the state of it. I'll have to get my cleaning fairy in again, Miss Sheridan, and just lightly rub out. With these putty rubbers, I don't know whether you know them, but the idea is when they do get dirty, you just sort of pick off. It's quite satisfying. It's a bit like putty. That's why they're called putty rubbers. You just pick off the dirty bit and then it's clean again. They're really, really good rubbers. If you ever find yourself online or in a shop, not that we can shop at the moment, but you know, you might find somebody you know has one that you can borrow. Okay, so we need a, oops, I just spilt water everywhere. Okay, got a silvery grey colour, right? I've got this dirty blue tone here. It's a bit of indigo and a bit of green by the looks of it. So it's like a greeny bluey colour. I'm going to add that to that, a little bit of Payne's Grey or black, and water it down a lot, and then you end up with like almost like a silvery green tone. So it's quite thin, and then you can start wherever you like and just start to paint these little projections. You may be lucky enough to have silver watercolour or even a bit of silver acrylic, which you could add into this mix. But just remember with acrylic that once it's dry, it's dry. You can't get it off. So just be a little bit more careful than you would be with your watercolour. So you can see that when it's quite thick, it's quite blue-green. But as it thins down, it starts to become more of a, just smudged that there, but I'll add that into it, incorporate it in to the final picture. And remember also that watercolour always dries lighter, so again, make sure you put enough on. I mean, you can add another layer if it's not quite dark enough for you. You can add another layer to your image. Okay, pot. We've got some oranges and blues and yellows around. I haven't got much red down here, so let's get a little bit of, I'll use an orange red. So you can either mix orange with red if you've got orange already, or you can just take your red and add a little bit of yellow into it, and it will make an orange red. Make sure it's a cadmium yellow, not a lemon yellow. You get a completely different shade with a lemon. I mean, you might like that shade. If you want to use it, use it. That's quite red. let's have a go at lifting again. It's always good to practice. Just going to get a sheet of tissue. So I've cleaned my brush off. I'm just going to dry it off on the paper towel, and then I'm just going to lift off a streak on that side. Clean it off, dry it off, lift. There's your highlight. And then, sorry, just remove one of my hairs. And then if you want to darken it up, just use a darker red and put in some darker red down that side for the shadow. You just get a little bit more of the, I'm using a bit of alizarin crimson here. You can just about see it, and maybe under the lip of that, just to give it a little bit of 3D. Okay, so by the time you've done that, hopefully this will be dry. You can touch it, or you can tilt your paper, and if it's still shiny, then it means it's still wet. So give it a minute. Go back into that green, blue, silvery tone that we had. And what you need to do is just go in the gaps, around the side, on the bottoms. Or always do one side. Decide which side the light is coming from. So the shadow was on this side of your pot. So your shadow would be on the left and the underside of all of your leaves. Left, underside, left and underside. Hopefully you can still see your marks. But if you can't, just look carefully at what you're doing, and you should be able to work out where they've been. Okay, so there's one there, one in there, one there. On the left, and really as you go up towards the top they should become lighter, so the ones down the bottom should have more colour on them than the ones at the top, effectively. Let's put another one there. Can you see how they're sort of layering on top of one another now? Okay, and darken these up as much as you like, lighten them if you need to. If you make a mistake in place, you can always lift, using that lifting technique, lift off the structures. Lovely. And we'll put in some soil, I think. I'm using a bit of burnt sienna. It's a reddy browny colour. Just popping that in under there, like that. And I might just put some just underneath that lip, and maybe underneath the bottom of the vase. Okay, if you've got a really detailed brush like I've got here, this teeny tiny detailed brush, you can take a little bit of that indigo colour, but a bit stronger this time. So this is just a dark blue with a bit of grey added to it. How are we doing for time? 1:09. Okay, so I'm just going into some of these where the little shapes are touching one another, and define them a little. You see what I'm doing? Might be that they're a bit wet and the colour will run a bit, but we've got, oops, yeah, see, and it will just help some of those little forms just come forward a little bit more. Don't go round them though. Again, we're not creating a cartoon type picture here. You just want to make sure that some of them stand out above the others. Okay, there we go. That'll do. Thanks for joining in. See you tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody. And we're not far off finishing. We've only got 3 left. Bye for now.